And here we go.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good morning and good afternoon, and welcome to really a 30-minute intro and really conversation about our new group coaching program, Hold It Open and Close the Deal. I am Chris Suarez, the coach for the program. And I just wanted to welcome everybody to the call this morning. I appreciate you spending some time with me. And our goal for this morning is to really talk a little bit about this open house concept, the open house program, as well as for you to get to know me just a little bit. Our hope and my hope is that we get to spend around 8 weeks together, beginning on May 18th. And in those 8 weeks, our intention is to get everybody that participates in Hold It Open and Close the Deal to build an open house model, much like we run in Portland, as well as now run in 6 different states and 10 different cities. And we're going to talk through a little bit today on how we did that and how we launched that. But before we get going and really talk about our system and process and give you some really strong takeaways to implement in your business today, I thought, well, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. It won't take that long because I'm a pretty simple human being, but I thought if we're going to spend 8 weeks together, it'd be good to know who we are, and feel free to ask questions as well. Everybody is on mute on the call just to keep the call clean and clear so we could all listen and benefit. If you do have questions, there is a question box, and I will be reading those as we go and spending a little bit of time at the end answering as many as we possibly can. But just a little bit of background on myself. As I mentioned, many of you actually that have signed up, I've looked at the lists that are on the call, and I know many of you personally. Some of you have seen me at Mega Camp. We've met at Family Reunion. Some of you have taken the Model Your Way to a Million fast track course through MAPS, all about the MREA book that I do. And many, if not most of you, have actually gone to a few of the sessions at Family Reunion called Blow the Roof Off of Open Houses. And that's how we've developed a relationship. We've stayed in touch. We've talked about what we do and how to implement better strategies to get better results through open houses. And it was through that constant attendance and just hundreds and hundreds of agents saying, hey, I'm following your open house system, or hey, can you send me this, or can we talk about that, that really MAPS said, well, let's build a fast track course so that we can, in a short amount of time, get as many agents as possible implementing a proven open house model that truly has the ability to change the trajectory of their business based on one underlying fact, and that's our open house model has a goal of doing one thing, and that is generating leads. Those leads that we generate through our open house has really spawned an incredible business here in Portland, where I live and where my main team is. As many of you know, I live in Portland. I came from New York, actually, born and raised in New York. Live in Portland now. Our team is a small team, a pretty lean team of about 8 individuals. We did roughly about just under 80 million in volume last year. And about 2 years ago, we began working with Gary Keller with a small mastermind group on expansion. And so now we are expanded into 6 different states, about 10 or 11 different cities, I believe is the count on that. And the interesting thing about that is that our growth truly can be accounted to one, or can be sort of boiled down to one secret. And that secret that I'm going to share with you today is our open house process. Our open house process is the basis of our success in Portland. And as we roll into every single one of those cities and regions and expansion locations, the underlying secret of our success there has truly been our open house strategy. And the reason why we've built that is I have to go back probably about 5 years, and I was sitting on stage at Mega Camp with Gary, going through the open house model to some degree, some of it. And at that point, I would say it was somewhat entrepreneurial, but working. Today, it's super purposeful. But what he said to me on stage, it was a coaching moment. And Gary looked at me and said, can I be honest with you? And I said, yes, in front of, I don't know how many, 6,000, 7,000 people that were sitting in the audience. And he said, you are having incredible success running open houses. Your challenge, and he said, and I challenge you, is to figure out a way, how do you duplicate, how do you replicate, how do you document this so that it's expandable? Because right now in your business, you're generating about 20 million in volume from open houses a year. Incredible business. But how do you grow from there? There has to be a way to do that. That's your challenge. And I will tell you, I went back home and I worked on that and worked on that and worked on that until we really built this proven strategy that comes down to about 6 main categories that we will go over together in our 6-week program that begins on May 18th. Those 6 strategies should be up on your screen. But what we realized is if we broke our open house strategy into 6 main areas, focused on those areas, we could expect a proven and an expected result for leads. So those 6 main areas are mindset, right? What is the mindset of an open house agent or an open house business? Preparation. How do you prepare? We're going to talk a little bit about that today. I'm going to give you some takeaways this morning, or this afternoon rather, for some of you, on how do we begin to prepare for that open house. We're going to spend a couple weeks on promotion. Well, how do we get people there? Because you could have the perfect mindset, you could prepare, but if no one shows up, you won't be given the opportunity to perform, which comes later. So it's mindset, preparation, promotion, the process. What is the process that we're going to follow once we have the right mindset, once we prepared and once we promoted? Performance. And what performance is the minute someone walks in the door at the open, what are we going to say? What are we going to offer? What is our value? Right? How do we perform? And really the first 4 is just getting ready to perform. And the last piece, which is probably one of the most important pieces, and typically what gets left off, is post-open house, right? So mindset, preparation, promotion, process, performance, and post-open house. What I will say is all of those push us to one thing. It's how do we generate leads? How do we turn those leads into appointments? How does appointments turn into signed contracts, and those signed contracts turn into closings? And that sounds eerily similar to the lead generation model in MREA, which, surprise, surprise, that's what this is built off of. One thing I'll say before we even move forward is the reason why it's built into these 6 categories comes from page 22 of MREA. And I'll quote it. If you have the book, awesome. Hopefully it's on everybody's desk. But in case you don't, Gary said there, and it was one of the biggest takeaways of MREA, he said, here's what's going to determine your success in this business. Now, when Gary Keller says, here's what's going to determine your success in this business, I stop and listen, because I'll take that advice. He says it's your approach, your ability, and your willingness to do the work of a real estate sales agent. Your approach, your ability, and your willingness to do the work. Here's the deal on that. Can approach be learned? Absolutely. Welcome to an 8-week fast track on hold it open and close the deal. It is all about approach. It's learning an approach and implementing that approach. And we are going to be forced, friendly, right, a nice force, but forced into implementing the approach. Then he said, okay, then it's your ability, which ability is really just skill, right? It's our skill. It's the skills that we have, or our ability to perform what the approach is. That is so learned. It's easy to learn an ability, right, or develop ability, or increase our ability. So the first 2 is approach and ability, which comes from training and coaching and consulting. Right? I will guarantee you in 8 weeks, you will have the approach down, because I'm going to give you it, and you'll have your ability increased, your mindset, your preparation ability, your promotion ability, your process ability, your performance ability, and your post-open ability will be there. So then it comes down to one thing, Gary says. It's your approach, your ability, which we're going to cover. The third thing, which no one can do but you and me, for myself and for yourself, is willingness. And it's just going to come down to the willingness. I will tell everyone in this call that if you're willing to do the work of a real estate sales agent, at the end of this 8 weeks, and actually before the 8 weeks ends, because we're going to go through and be doing open houses together, I can guarantee that your business will begin to change. Your lead count will go up. Your conversion ratios will go up. You'll begin to have closings and in contracts from open houses. And that's the vision and mission and passion behind taking a lead generation activity like an open house. And I will say at that same, on stage that same day when I first came out, Gary said, hey, I want to introduce you to someone. And he does, and I quote, the unsexiest lead generation out there, right? Because I follow people that were talking about expireds and FSBOs and just the internet. And Gary said, hey, guess what? Open houses are unsexy. And the reality is if we turn it into a model, if we turn open houses into a model, it will accomplish our goal of generating leads. And Gary Keller, again, in MREA says, the most important thing, the only thing we should care about is leads. The main question of our business should be leads, because it's the number of leads that we have that will either increase our business, right, stagnate our business, or put us out of business. So then the question becomes, is it a lead quantity or a lead quality question, right? Should I care about quantity or quality? One of my favorite quotes, and I use this in my open house strategy, Gary said this: the octane of your fuel is irrelevant unless you have enough to get to your destination. Think about that for a second. In the question about lead quality or quantity, Gary says the octane of your fuel is completely irrelevant unless you have enough to get to your destination. Anyone ever run out of gas? Right? I did. I will share that. I'm not proud of that, but I did. I was driving down the road, I ran out of gas. I will tell you the first thing I thought of was not, man, I wish I would have put 89 grade in instead of 86. Right? The only thing I cared about was how in the world did I not have enough gas. So our open house strategy is going to be built around how do we get more? How do we get more leads? How do we increase our lead count at these open houses? And the only way we do that is if we have a system and model to generate people walking through the door, but more than that, before they walk out of the door, how do we connect with them? Right? And how do we get their contact information and move them into being one of 4 categories? And if you're taking notes, I'd write these 4 categories down, because it could truly it should transform your database, and everybody in your world should either be, and everyone that walks through our open house, we're going to look at them as either an immediate seller or a future seller, an immediate buyer or a future buyer, right? So immediate seller, future seller, immediate buyer, future seller. It's one of those 4. How do we get in front of those 4? We're going to talk about 3 things today, right? Just briefly, a quick overview, but implementable, right? Implementable today. So whether you join us for our 8 weeks or not, right, if you have a pen, take some notes, because you should be able to implement these whether or not you're part of the program. So the first one is selecting the open house. You know, oftentimes, how do we do that? Well, around Thursday or Friday, we realize that Saturday just opened up for us. And so we think, you know, I have nothing going on in my life. I have nothing else to do. So maybe I should do an open house. I heard that sometimes that they work. Problem, right? Because we're selecting our open house on a Thursday or a Friday, and we've all seen those emails show up in our inbox and through the office intranet saying, hey, wants to do an open house this Friday or this Saturday or this Sunday, and it's 24 hours before the open. We're going to talk through the strategy and the system that we should use in selecting our open house. And what do we look at? We're going to talk about turnover ratios in neighborhoods. How do we pull those up? How do we find them? How do we find the right neighborhood to select the open house? Within the neighborhood, how do we select the right house? Is it vacant? Is it not? Do people live there? Is it staged? right? How do we select the right times? Because that's a portion of the selection. I'll tell you, one of the greatest things I ever did was break the mold of doing open houses only on Saturday and Sunday. And we began to build a schedule around traffic patterns in neighborhoods that we wanted market share in. So what does that look like? All of a sudden, we're going to build a system and a model around doing open houses on perhaps Thursday at 3 p.m. And you're thinking, Thursday at 3? Why would you do that? Because we realize that if we're around a school on Thursday at 3, we have incredible traffic patterns in and out of neighborhoods, picking up who? Children, right? Picking up children from school, dropping off children from school, picking up children from practice, dropping off children at practice. Our goal, our mindset, keep in mind, will be how do I connect first with future and immediate sellers, which means they live in the neighborhood that you're doing the open house in, or live around the neighborhood where they're dropping off people from school. So we'll build strategies around the right time, around the right neighborhood, around the right traffic patterns, and then around the right promotion to get those people through, right? How do we get them out of their car and into the house? So first it's selecting the open house and really building a big picture plan or building a model around getting people into that house. The second thing that we're going to talk about today briefly is, well, great, promotion has to be a big part of it. The reason why I bring up the issue with selecting an open house on Thursday or Friday for Saturday or Sunday is our open house strategy begins about 6 days in advance, right? 1 week in advance, we should know what are we holding open, when are we holding it open, and how do we build a system or promotional process around that open house. So if you're taking notes, I'll blitz through it pretty quick on that 6-day promotional push. And I'm doing that just so you leave today's call with it. Keep in mind, we're going to spend an entire hour on the 6-day promotional push and actually begin implementing that 6-day promotional push together around our open house. So Monday, let's say our open house is on Saturday. Monday, we're going to select that open house. And my team meets every Monday and we say, okay, which open houses are we having on 6 days from now? Which open houses are we having 7 days, 8 days, 9 days, right? We're going to build that schedule out. But about 6 days in advance, we're going to select the open. Tuesday, we're going to post it online. We're going to obtain a call list around the neighborhood. And we're actually going to get some invitations out to owner-occupied homes around there. Keep in mind, there's a strategy, there's a purpose around each one of those. Posting online, where do we do it? About 3-4 different sites. We're going to talk through and teach everyone how to do it, how to post it, where to put that. Obtaining a call list, how do we get that? We'll show you. But ultimately, we're going to try to get around 50 to 100 phone numbers of nearby neighbors. And then the third, owner-occupied. Why? Because we care about one person and one person only on day 2. It's future sellers. How do we get future sellers to know us, build mind share for them, and also get them through the house so we can move them from a haven't met to a met into our database. Day 3, which now it's Wednesday, we're posting it online again. We're going to talk about how to do that. We're now taking that call list and we're beginning to call neighbors. And then day 3, a sign goes up, right? A coming soon sign goes up. Day 4, we're going to post online. Again, it's going to get consistent, but Gary says, guess what? If you want big production, we have to be okay with the boredom of repetition. But we're going to post online. We're going to continue our calls to our neighbors. We're now going to implement some strategies and techniques to invite people in our database to that open house. We're going to connect with sign calls from previous, from that listing, emails from that listing if it's our listing. We're going to talk about other strategies to get traffic there and to get in front of people. Day 5, or on Friday, we're going to post online. We're now going to go through about a 6 or 7-step process to prepare market stats and comps, what I call value for our prospective visitors. And day 6, posting online, we're going to get directionals up. We're going to door knock, and don't be afraid. There's not going to be a lot of that, but there's going to be some of it. We're going to invite Sphere, and then we're going to do some social media posts. And we're going to teach people, well, how do we do a social media post? Who do we send it to? How do we target the neighborhood that we're doing the open house in? So hopefully what you're hearing is we don't decide on Friday that we're going to do an open house on Saturday. And what Gary says, right, this is moving open houses from being E to moving them to P, being entrepreneurial to moving them to being purposeful during that 6-day promotional push. Now, let's fast forward. We fast forward and we've done our promotional push, right? We have the right mindset, we've prepared, we've promoted, we've followed the process, and now someone walks in the door. That's all about performance, right? How do we act? What do we say? What do we have? What do we offer? And on your screen, you should see three questions. And this is just three of the many, right? The question scripts that we're going to use at an open house. If you're taking notes and you don't plan on being with us for the 8-week program, please write these down, because I will tell you that these three can, if you do nothing else, and even if you have 1 or 2 people show up to a poorly run open house, you can convert them using these 3 scripts or these 3 questions. The first one, this changed my business when we got purpose asking this question. Are you out shopping for a home today, or do you happen to live in the neighborhood? Now, here's what happens. Here's what happens. When you ask that, I immediately know which side of my database they're going to end up in, which means I know exactly which questions or which script, right, flow, what flow of script I'm going to use. And we're going to actually spreadsheet that out for you during the 8 weeks. We'll send you how do we the minute we recognize it's a buyer, which scripts do we use? When it's a seller, which scripts do we use? Which questions do we ask? But when you ask that first question, 1, it puts people at ease, and you'll know immediately if they're a buyer or a seller. 2, build this into your language, into your vocabulary, into your scripts. Would it be of value to you if? Here's what I will tell you about that question. You are moving towards a yes. It is very, very difficult for a human being to say, hey, would it be of value to you if I sent you a report on the neighborhood? Type it into the question box. Okay, I think we're back on. So let me go back. Would it be of value to you if? It is very difficult for someone when you believe you have value and you're offering it to someone, free value, for them to say no. So for instance, how does that look like? Would it be of value to you if I sent you just a quick report on the neighborhood? No. Human beings, that question moves them to a yes. And our strategy, which we're going to talk about at length on our calls, will be what can we provide, what do we bring of value so that we have something that everybody can say yes to. Because remember, if they say yes, if it would be valuable, then it's one question from their contact information, which is our goal and strategy of doing an open house. It's lead generation, because those leads end up in our database, and then we'll talk about campaigning them into transactions. But write that down. Would it be of value? Would it be of value to you if? And then we're going to finish that question together in our calls. The third, and sometimes the final question, right? If you've done everything you could and you didn't get their contact information, this is a win. This is a win. It's, I've really enjoyed our conversation and would love to continue it. Would that be okay with you? How difficult do you think it is for another human to say to you, no, I haven't enjoyed our conversation, right? I really enjoyed our conversation, would love to continue it. It almost forces them to give you their contact information, because if they don't, they show up as rather inhumane and rude. So our goal in scripts is to have something documented and trained and consistent to move those visitors to a yes. These are just 3 of the questions that we have in that script binder. So here's what I want to share with you. On page 26 and 27 of MREA, one of the huge takeaways that Gary continues to try to teach us, right? In his private mastermind last week, he said, guys, we continue to overcomplicate our business. Make it simple. Sure enough, on page 26 of MREA, and I'm reading a sentence. He says, "No one can live or operate in complexity for very long. Lasting success lies in our ability to reduce things to their simplest level." What I'm here to tell you is in 8 weeks, we will reduce open houses into their simplest level. But we're going to move the open house from an event to a process. And why is that important? Because oftentimes we will do an open house, we will hold it as an event, we will show up, and when it doesn't go well, we have written off open houses as a lead generation activity. Well, what I would argue is we've turned that open house into an activity instead of a model, right? It is an event. It isn't an event, and it isn't an activity. Open houses should be a process and a model. So over that 8 weeks, our goal is to implement a proven model that, one, builds actually a database, moves people through those homes, and from the home into your database. And then probably the most important thing, right, which is that sixth step is post-open. Great, so they gave you their contact information, now what? What typically happens? We go back, we email them a property or two, we call them, they don't respond, and we think, okay, let's move on, I better do another open house. And thus we get exhausted in this strategy of open houses. Well, we're going to share with you every touch, right, every email, every phone conversation, every print piece that we use in our, right, around the country now in completely different markets on how do we move those open houses into a strategy. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to read some of these questions real quick and answer as many of them as I possibly can. What I want you to do is know how to sign up. On your screen, you'll see mapscoaching.com/holditopen. You can also go to just, if it's easier, holditopenandclosethedeal.com. It'll go straight to MAPS' registration page. For everybody that does sign up today, I'm actually going to send out tomorrow our team's entire script binder. So aside from just open house scripts, which you're going to obviously get during our program, I'm going to send you our entire script binder. It's something that I get asked for a lot, regardless of what lead generation technique we use, whether it's our internet responses, which are sign call scripts, or expired scripts, or database scripts, or past client scripts. I'm going to send that out. All you need to do is sign up today. We will have that list, and then I'll send it out tomorrow. The other thing I'm going to ask, if you're excited about the course, and if you're excited to be part of it, on my Facebook page, and again, my name is Chris Suarez, right? You will find me. Most of us are already connected. But to make this easier, I've already posted the event on my page. All you need to do is share that. I will be able to track everybody that shares the link to Hold It Open and Close the Deal on social media, and I'm going to do a special 1-hour coaching call on the Millionaire Mindset. It's a course that I've taught all over the country. It's built on MREA, but we'll do an exclusive group call probably at the end of May. We'll set that up, make sure, we'll record it and get it out if you can't make the call as well, but I just wanted to do that as well if you share the course on social media. A couple questions that came up was on door knocking. When do you door knock? We will typically door knock the day before. However, if it doesn't happen the day before, we'll do it the day of. But our system and process is the day before. And the reason being is because we want people to know it's happening. And remember, it's not as much a goal of getting people into the door at that point as showing up into a neighborhood that you want to build mind share and market share in, and moving people from a haven't met to a met. And that's going to be talked about in our preparation and our mindset piece. The other question that came up was surrounding once we get those people, am I going to share, right, our campaigns, our 8x8 for open houses, our 33 touch for open houses? And that's a yes. We will upload those so that everybody can download them. My point is actually to take the open house system and model that has worked. I will tell you, our first full year in production in a brand new city focused on this open house model, we closed about 20 million in volume. The second year, about 40 million. By the third year, we had become an MREA, right, a millionaire real estate agent, did over 70 million in volume, and the majority, which means over 50% the majority of our business was coming from open houses, immediate open houses, but also based on the scripts and the campaigns that we use and we're going to share, was open house leads that we had gotten a year before, 2 years before, 3 years before, now 4 years before. I'll tell you, a big portion of my business, even 7 years later, doing 200 deals or more a year, are coming from old open house leads that we consistently follow up with. So if you want to be part of the program, please go to Hold It Open and Close a Deal or mapscoaching.com, register. We'll send out a link to everybody as well that's on the call. It is just 8 weeks. We've boiled it down. It's going to be very, very action-packed. We will move quick. If you've now experienced how fast I talk. I promise I'll slow down. But it's just $99. It's just like the other MAPS Fast Track programs. It's $99 a month. That was a question that came up as well. So for the 2 months, it's $99. And yes, you can. If you have any questions about sign up, if you go to MAPS Coaching Program, you can actually email them directly as well. All right, guys, it is 10:31. I took 1 minute extra. What I can say is I hope that as many people on the call as possible can participate and be part of our group. This is the inaugural group of Hold It Open and Close a Deal. I'm really excited. Again, it starts May 18th, and it will be every week. We'll run it for 8 weeks. It'll be at 11 a.m. Central Time. If you have something that comes up, keep in mind that every call is recorded, and you can then listen to it on your own time as well. Or you can be on the live call, and then you'll have the recording as well to go back and listen as we go and implement. All right. I appreciate everybody's time to be on the call. Hopefully, regardless of whether you sign up or not, you got some value on systems and process and scripts for your open houses, even perhaps this weekend. Let's make it a great day, and I look forward to seeing everybody on the call. Thanks, guys.